I think you'll be able to see me. Hey, how's it going? My name is Cross. This is a vlog, kind of sharing my thoughts about a particular subject matter called black speech. The reason why I've decided to make this video is because a friend of mine wrote a status saying that she was told that she spoke white, and how she kind of felt about that. And to me it was kind of funny because this particular friend of mine speaks a lot more urban than my friends do, and as I do in general. But people writing comments and stuff and like, oh, I agree, no, I don't disagree, that's stupid, that's funny, whatever. And my comment was pretty short. A slogan that me and my friends have been throwing around saying, white is not an act, black is not a sound. Essentially meaning that you can't do anything to act white. If you're white, you are white because of a heritage. And if you're black, you are black because of heritage. There's nothing you can say or do or dance or wear or be a part of that can change that. That's just stupid. And so I made that comment and people liked it or whatever. But a particular guy commented saying that he disagreed with me, saying that black speech was a thing and that black people had a predisposition to speak a certain way and so on and so forth. And then she agreed with him, saying that yes, black speech is a such thing and what have you. Which is infuriating to me because you're kind of essentially saying that if you don't speak this certain way that you're not black. That somehow the way that you speak the language, your language, can somehow counteract your heritage. Like, oh, I speak this way, all of a sudden I'm not a descendant of slaves, like that never happened or anything. To me, that's ignorant. It's not even, to me, in general, that is ignorant. The fact that you can try to sit there and categorize how somebody speaks by a race. You can't. It's environmental. And that's kind of what I want to talk about. The two different environments that determine how somebody speaks. There's domestic and then there's social. Domestic being the environment of the way that people speak in your household. When children first become accustomed to language, it's because of their parents or because of their brothers and sisters. Whoever speaks in their household, that's their first interaction with language. And you speak to children and they learn from your speech even though they don't understand you at first. And as they get older they start to understand, and that's how their language is built. There's also social, and social is the people that they come into contact with that aren't in their house. So whether it be people at school or at church or out in the playground, people you meet serendipitously, that have their own version of speech, and you kind of start to reflect these different versions of speech, which is completely environmental. So which has nothing to do with a person's race. I'm not predispositioned to say a certain word because I am black, like this person was kind of trying to imply. I speak both suburban and urban because of the people that I grew up around. People in my household spoke well. My father's a multiple doctorate degree college graduate. My mother's upper middle class worker. She's about to retire now. She's had the same job since she was 18. She's not 18 anymore. And so speaking a certain way was really important to people in my household because they believe that even if you didn't achieve a certain amount of education scholastically, that if you spoke with a certain type of verbal finesse, that people would receive you better. So that was a really big thing for me growing up in my household from the domestic front. But socially, I grew up in Gary, where the standards of English speech is not necessarily that high or that proper. So my speech reflects both, depending on what situation I am. This is the way I speak normally, but if I'm around friends that I grew up with in Gary, my vocabulary tends to urbanize a little bit more. That's just how people are. You have a different business voice and you do a social voice. That's just life. And to me, for somebody to say that black people have a predisposition to speak a certain way, and not even any certain way, a very degenerated version of English type of certain way, that black people are predispositioned to speak English poorly, to me that's very offensive. And not only the fact that somebody had made that comment, but the fact that the person who had made the post originally agreed with them, because it's like you're now becoming part of the problem. You're helping to pigeonhole black people in this certain category, even though it's not exclusively a black problem. That translates to many different races. For example, I have a friend who is Mexican, Puerto Rican, and Polish, but he speaks in a Spanish-sounding accent. but he doesn't know Spanish himself because his mother wanted him to be Americanized and didn't want to teach him Spanish. So that's kind of what happened. And because of the domestic and social environments in which he grew up in, he started to take on this accent for this language that he didn't himself speak. But because people spoke it around him, he started to reflect that in his own speech. Another example is I study sign language, and I found out that sign language is also regional. People who sign in Wisconsin are going to sign differently than people who sign in Florida. Somebody who's from the north is going to notice a signing accent if somebody's from the south. That's interesting, but that's how it works. People's speech reflect their environment, not their genetics. You're not predispositioned to speak any language a certain way. If anything is coloring the way that you speak, is if you have a speech impediment, like I do, I stutter. Sometimes people have lisps, people have clefts, and certain things like that will color the way that you speak, but it's not genetic, like from your race. Like people are trying, or like this particular guy was trying to say. And so I simply wanted to voice my opinion on that and how I thought about that and how frustrating and aggravating it is that for somebody to still in this day and age think that something like speech is predisposition to your race. That's my thoughts. Leave a comment. Let me know how you think. You have a good day.